Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
Hey, and this is Jack from emails@sell.com. Disclaimer, I'm about to go against every piece of cold email advice I've ever given on this show. Today, I'm going to tell you to go for the kill and start hard selling your prospects. That's right. You're about to get permission to put a buy now button in your cold emails. Listen in as Jeremy and I discuss the 3 examples where hard selling has outperformed conversational cold emails, plus a few case studies and email copy that you can use to drum up new customers the old-fashioned way this week. Enjoy.
What's up today, Jack?
This will be a shocker. It should be a shocker for those of you who have listened to quite a few episodes.
Yeah, forget everything else we said.
Today, I'm making the argument why you should hard sell in your cold emails. Gasp.
What?
I know. It's
What?
right. So we've never told you to hard sell before, ever. I think our advice has been the exact opposite of that. Why? Because jumping out in a cold email with a hard sales pitch, the classic, always be closing, traditional, hard, tough copywriting is never the best way to start a conversation with a stranger, right? But
I don't know. I put a buy now button and I get plenty of cash usually, but I don't know about you, Jack.
right. I mean, if that was the case, then, I don't think we'd be having a podcast about it. It would just, we would be putting emails with buy buttons and then life would be simple. But I'm making the argument today that hard selling can sometimes work, and it can work better than the traditional, hey, let's start a sales conversation approach.
Ooh.
Jeremy, you'll probably be playing the devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yeah. All right. So let's hear about it.
That's it. The cast is over. There is nothing to say, really.
The reason I wanted to do a cast about this was because a while back, there was a client we were working with approaching a specific market, and we set up an unusual A/B test. This particular client had a copywriting background, and he sort of said, hey, I appreciate this approach. Let's run it. But at the same time, I want to do something more close to my roots here. I want to hit them hard. Let's go with a real tough copywriting angle on one of the groups here. So there's no real way to know what's going to flop and what's going to succeed before you run a test. If you're working with an agency that tells you otherwise, find a new agency. So we run the test, and the hard sell way outperformed what we were setting up originally. So that was a shock to me, and it just opened up the possibility in my mind that sometimes the hard sell can work. So let me tell you a little bit more about this instance so that you see what's going on.
I want to know everything about it. What industry and...
But from your point of view, Jeremy, that is a shocker. You're with me on that, right?
Almost, I would say, because I think we need to go back to sort of like the definition of the hard sell at this stage, because if I look at some wishy-washy emails sometime that are very weak,
right,
then that kind of makes sense. Like they need to bring back the root to the business side of things. So for example, if you're asking, by the way, what's your favorite baseball team? If you want to start a conversation, that may be nice, but that's not really, to the point kind of thing. So sometimes that is needed. But I guess because that was you, that's obviously out of the picture. That wasn't something like that.
I can explain the difference between the two approaches. One approach was looking to start a conversation about selling a service, but it was doing so in a way that said more or less, hey, we're working with quite a few companies just like yours. Here's one of the results that we were able to do, insert little case study. Would you be available to, actually, we did something kind of interesting. It was kind of like, do you have capacity to bring on more customers?
Oh, I like that.
And the service was basically like a marketing service, right? I'm going to keep it a little bit broad, but you'll have all the details you need to understand it. Basically, it's like, hey, we can help generate you more business. Do you have capacity? Is this the right time for you to think about getting more customers, right? And so that approach was getting responses like, hey, yeah, you're always looking for new work, and we've got the manpower, so to speak, for it. Sure. How are you guys different? This kind of response was more common to this, I'll call it a traditional cold email approach, right? But the salesy approach, the hard sell, laid out the price for the program. I think it even had a guarantee in there. And the call to action was way stronger. It said, let's get you set up. jump on a call with me. You'll pay this and you'll be receiving XYZ results next week. Let's get your business set up. It's basically closing in a cold email, right? Which is a big no-no. If you've listened to a lot of episodes, we're here saying the goal of a cold email is to get sales conversations started. We're not saying you need to close in a cold email, but in this case, it worked better. So let's talk about why it worked better.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I know for a fact that, it also depends on your audience. Like, for example, if you're talking to traders, you don't want to beat around the bushes. You want to be straight, lay everything out, and then they'll take a decision very quickly because they just have no time, right? I guess, yeah, we need to talk about your offer specifically because it could be that they sort of like have a bleeding problem, but they don't want to shop around, go around. The price may have been like right at the right spot for the type of people who were contacted.
Right.
So it could have been something almost like, when you win at the lottery. When you win at the lottery, you tick the right number, but it's very difficult to replicate in other type of industry or with other type of cold emails.
Correct. So basically what you're saying, Jeremy, is you have a list that would be crazy to turn down your offer.
Yeah, exactly.
So perfect. So you've jumped to one of my 3 scenarios where you should try the hard sell. If you've got an offer that's just brain dead simple, maybe you can include a guarantee that promises them an ROI, or else they get full refund plus extra. Like maybe if you are in that position, a hard sell could get you more customers simply because your offer is that damn good.
And quicker as well, and you don't have a long sales cycle and everything like that, which will interestingly allow you to bring down even the price, kind of thing. But maybe it's not something with price per se, right? Maybe it's the offer, the value package.
So let me create an example with this scenario. If I sent you an email, you'd never heard of me before, but if I said, hey, Jeremy, what we do, we help SaaS companies acquire new customers for $1. And if we aren't able to do that, then we write you a check for $1,000 and we make sure that you've got all your money back that you ever spent with us. And it takes 30 minutes of your time to get going. Like that's a hell of a hard sell. It's a crazy offer. Would you entertain that?
I will actually probably reply. I will be intrigued because if they fail, they send me like a check of $1,000. I think it's interesting in itself. I'd like to figure out what makes them so sure of themselves. It's very appealing in itself.
So you heard it here first, folks. That's Jeremy saying he would reply to a hard sell email if it was an amazing offer. Okay, so that's scenario 1.
Intriguing. Actually, Intriguing is probably my kicker here. I would be open to open a channel of conversation. What makes you think that you can reach such great results, right?
But the important thing to note here is it's possible that if I reached out to Jeremy saying something like, hey, Jeremy, I see that you're doing cold email outreach. We do something where we kind of help these SaaS companies acquire customers. Like, are you currently running marketing efforts right now? Maybe you wouldn't have said like, oh, that's intriguing. So notice, right?
Yeah, and I probably wouldn't have replied to the first email on that one, actually.
But no, perfect. So that makes the point here that the hard sell grabbed him. The soft sell, not as intriguing, right? And it goes back down to what we said. If your offer is that good that they'd be crazy to ignore it, then maybe hard sell works.
One more thing I'd like to say about this is we're a big fan here on the show about talking about, timing, matters, right? So if my mind is in marketing right now and I receive an email about marketing, I will consider it more deeply. And I may actually reply just to figure out a bit more because I'm in that phase about I want to know more about marketing and improve that. But if you come to me with more than a hard sell, actually like an offer that is irresistible to some extent, like maybe I plan to redo my website in 6 months, for example, and you come in with an offer that is like too good to resist, I may actually shift my priorities for you. And so basically, it's not really that your offer is more compelling than the other one.
Right.
It's just that, I was really looking for your solution at that time, but you managed to produce something so good that it actually shift my interest and my priority orders. Yes, basically. But it will have to be like 2 things. It will have to be serious enough that I believe it, and it will have to be serious enough that I have to jump on it, right? Or important enough.
So maybe something like if I wrote you an email that said, Jeremy, we just redesigned Kissmetrics' website. We're looking for another SaaS company to redesign their website. And we actually just hired a new designer, and I want them to have a trial project. So we're kind of doing this stupid thing for one SaaS company. Interested?
Oh, yeah, that one will actually work. If they haven't said something like, we're doing it for that one SaaS company and so on, I will say, sounds interesting. I'd love to hear more about it. Talk to me again in 6 months or 3 months or when, I planned it.
But if you knew that they were a hell of a design agency and you would be excited to work with them, cool.
I mean, there's a scarcity thing here, right? So if they only had like one slot and things like that, then yes, I would probably go for them. I guess you guys kind of understand that actually hard sales works better with me because I don't have the patience.
So maybe we're uncovering a little bit more than we thought of when it comes to reasons to set up a hard sell cold email campaign.
I really think that what's important here is that not that hard sell won't work or it will work. I think for it to work, it has to have some element of a formula. And if we don't have them, it's going to fail, and it's going to fail badly. Like imagine, I do you like a hard sell, but, I don't have any credibility. My offer is like completely off. It's like unbelievable. Or it's like super pushy. It doesn't really add anything. It's just like purely selfish.
Right.
What's going to do? Because in your case, that was pretty interesting. It was like, hey, I'm going to deliver value. Otherwise, I'm going to pay for it because I fail. It's like, okay, I like working with those people. But if it comes with like, hey, this is the only offer, you're going to grab it right now. Yeah, take it or leave it. It's just like, okay, well, maybe not.
So I've made an assumption here that the person writing this hard sell email is a excellent copywriter. And maybe I shouldn't have made that assumption. But yeah, I completely agree. If this is one of the many reasons why putting a hard sell cold email campaign is difficult to make work, because you've got to be very good at writing a tight offer that does have scarcity, that does grab the reader from the very first introduction sentence, that keeps them reading the whole email, that addresses the things that they're afraid of for accepting your offer, that puts all their objections to bed, that makes them excited, their hearts sort of pounding faster as they keep reading through your email. So unless you've got that kind of a script together where it's just very good copywriting, then there's nothing that hard selling will help you out in. You're 100% right, Jeremy. You've got to have a great offer and a great way to put that together in an email.
All right. You mentioned other case I think you have.
So the first one was you've got an offer that's impossible to refuse. The next one is you already own the space. So own the space is in my notes here. What I mean by that is the people you're reaching out to are cold. You found their email address through some other way besides them giving it to you, but they already know about your company. They already know who you are. It could be that you've got a niche service company that services only a handful of people that attend the same conferences every year, that know one another, so that when you reach out with this email, they already understand, like, oh, they may even have friends that use your services, right? But it is a traditional cold email in that you had to find their email address and reach out. So I'm saying if you already own the space, they know you, and you know that they need your service, then a hard sell can work. And I've seen it work in this exact example here.
Was the copywriting kind of similar, or was it actually slightly different?
I'll say it was different because the angle we used here, we name dropped, like, not sort of competitors, but people that they already knew. So it basically, Jeremy, be like saying like, hey, the guys from Lime Leads and let's say Monkey Learn, people that you're familiar with, are using this right now. And that, let's say you already know the company that I'm representing. So it's like, yeah, of course. Like, in fact, they've probably told me a couple times about how great you guys are doing. This is an audience that could be like, all right, you've got my attention. Let me see if I should really pursue this. And then going straight into the hard sell. At the same time, though, the similarity with the other example, Jeremy, is it did come down to a great offer.
So they had an authority on the market.
That's exactly right. They already were credible. They were the authority. And so the brand's trustworthy. They may be already on the fence. And that's another reason why I think this worked really well, is we went after prospects in a very small world here. And a handful of them were probably already having discussions with their team saying, yeah, we may need to consider these guys. And Sure enough, reaching out to this small list with a hard sell did drum up customers that other approaches weren't able to do. I've got one other instance that I recommend going after prospects with a hard approach here. And forgive me, this is not going to be a traditional cold email example, but nonetheless, it can work.
Does it has a Stripe checkout in it?
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. It could. It could.
Cool.
These are, drum roll, your inbound leads that have gone dark on you. So at one point or another, they signed up for something that indicated they were an excellent fit. They sought your company out on their own. In other words, they raised their hand saying, I want what you have. And everything you've tried up until that point has failed. So instead of giving up on these leads, approaching them with some hard traditional email copywriting can and have won people over that fit that specification. So, Jeremy, just in your world, could you see yourself trying this out for your, let's say, leads who have gone dark on you? Would you ever entertain the idea of going after them with a salesy email?
That's not necessarily a bad idea per se. I think it's a bit like that shiny object kind of things. Like, who doesn't want to have more customers? Who doesn't want to suddenly have results overnight and stuff like that? I would put like a word of caution here. Like, you may decide to sort of like try this out and then suddenly like burn bridges faster than you would actually need to actually create them. Like I keep saying, it takes a lifetime to build trust and it takes a second to lose it. So I'll be extremely cautious to go about that just because I heard like wonders about it. On the new market or with new leads, I would be more inclined to actually do tests and try out that.
Okay, now it's time for me to play devil's advocate. I'm going to say it's a bigger risk not to try it. You have more to lose if you don't send that salesy email.
All right, tomorrow, everyone, whoever signed up on QuickMail, you're going to receive like a hard sell email.
Yeah, but hold on. Here's what I'm thinking. I'll tell you my approach that I would take.
Right.
And then I will say, if a lead who receives this email looks at it and says, oh my God, I'm appalled. Why would they send me this hard selling email? Unsubscribe. I'm going to tell you that I would light off fireworks because I'm excited that they're off of my list.
I know what
they're
you mean.
Total tire kickers.
Do you remember that book called Made to Stick?
Yeah. Dan and Chip Heath.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of it. Do you remember what they said about like, well, it's impossible to know what it is not to know once you know.
Right. So once you become an expert at something,
exactly.
Good luck relating to rookies.
And I think the assumption here is that you can write hard copy emails. I may be able to as well, but I think a lot of people starting up just don't. And I think that's the point I'm making.
Okay. Yeah. But that's okay. Look, if you're listening and you're a business owner sending cold emails, like don't panic. You know, to own a business, it doesn't require you to be great at cold email copywriting. I mean, you can hire people for this. So even though you have no idea or no interest mastering the art of copywriting, you can still be sending amazing emails.
I think we should have a podcast about that type of discussion.
But I want to share my approach because I actually think,
yeah, go for it.
If people took this approach, even if you're very much mediocre at copywriting, I don't think you're going to lose the wrong leads. And the wrong leads is a key distinction here because if somebody gets this email and still unsubscribes, good riddance because they had no part being in your marketing loop. There was no chance you'll ever close them. Here's the approach I would take. Just call out what you're doing. Call out what they've done. Call out where you're at. I love just sort of leveling with the prospect here. And to do that, you just say, look, X months ago, you signed up for this. We got your email some way, and it told me that you were interested in XYZ. So since I have tried everything, I threw the book at you and you're still one of the few people who have resisted. First of all, congratulations. And second of all, let me try a different approach. You're about to get hard sold. Put your, defense gate up. You're about to hear it. And by the way, if you know already this ain't for you, just delete this email. And then you've basically slayed the ground floor to dive into it. And you've given him permission. You know what I mean?
Love it.
So I would take that angle. And I think you could shake out customers from the oldest, most cold list of leads that you have right now in your MailChimp database. I think that could really work. So if you're listening and you've got, let's say, a couple hundred, call them dead leads, maybe try that out this week.
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
We'll do an outro, but I'll just close by saying selling hard is something that we rarely recommend on the show, but it's got its place. And if you've never tried it, you may have an opportunity if you look at your list a little bit creatively.
Okay, so tell me, Jack, now since you tried to hard sold us on the hard sell, when are the places where people should not do it then?
Every other instance. Really, I mean, look, let's go back to the goal of a cold email. It's to start conversations. Boy, is it difficult to do that if you come out of the gate swinging. The 3 scenarios I've outlined are pretty much, I sat down for 10 minutes really just thinking before we did this cast when I would use a hard sell, and I didn't come up with any other instances. There may be a few, but before you try it, just really put yourself in the prospect's shoes. Is it right to get this email? Have they indicated they're ready for the pitch? And unless you can say they're going to love what I have to say, you should probably take a different angle.
There you go. Thanks for the words, Jack.
All right, Jeremy. Bye.
There you go. You only had to listen to 83 episodes before we finally tell you the truth that you can add that buy now button you've always dreamed of in your email. Nah, just kidding. But before you start pitching, make sure you can afford it. That is, you have a great offer that you know is already working. Because unless people know you, going for a hard sell may actually slow down your learning of that market. And in order to win a hard sell, you need an irresistible offer and some compelling argument to back it up. But this could just be what you need to get more performance out of your campaign. So in short, don't try it at home unless you know what you're doing or you limit it to just one A/B test.
Hey, cold emailer.
Yeah, you.
If you got some value from this episode, give us a high vibe by sharing a 2-sentence review on iTunes.
Or Stitcher or TuneIn. That works too.
It's a quick way to help other growth-minded folks like us find this podcast
So they can send awesome emails
and make everyone's inbox a better place.